Welcome to you, everybody, here in the room. A couple of weeks ago, a colleague of mine, a winemaker, they contacted us with questions relating to the Franc colonial sites, and they told us that they managed to harvest grapes from these sites, and they managed to make very exciting wines from these grapes, and they wanted to show these wines, present these wines in a wine tasting during this event. And they also asked us to do some instrumental tests in these wine samples to see whether there are any to see the real differences between these different wines. And what they found, what they asked us to do is to try to identify why these samples were more fruitier than of certain clones than others. And this slide shows the various aroma compounds, the various molecules which are responsible for various aromas that are responsible for the fruity character of a wine. A naive chemist, including myself, might think that that if you identify these compounds qualitatively, you can kind of reconstruct fruity character. I'm sure that many in this room are aware that that's not quite the case, because this is a very complex a mix of molecules, and wine is a very complex mix of different compounds, and also the organoleptic threshold concentrations of these compounds vary quite a bit. So this approach really difficult, therefore. So here, so this slide shows the origin of various aroma compounds. These aroma compounds can originate from 3 different sources. Some are already present in the grapes, some originate from the fermentation process, and some are produced during aging of wine. If you assume that you make all the wines using the same technology, and the winemakers told us that that was the case with these samples, then the various compounds, aroma compounds produced during fermentation will also depend on the quality of the grapes, and this is why we focused on the various esters in the samples. We did a gas chromatography, headspace gas analysis. We take a sample from a headspace, just like you take a sample from the headspace of a glass when you smell a wine during tasting. So we take a sample, and this gas mixture is driven through a long capillary tube. This is the principle of gas chromatographic tests, and then we use a detector. And some compounds are faster and slower because and they are so we can identify them specifically. All these aroma compounds, I mean. Here on the left-hand side of the slide, you can see, on the right-hand side, you can see the image of one of these gas chromatography devices. And this is the final slide. I was given 5 minutes to show the results. And here, this shows a summary of organoleptic results and results from gas chromatography. On the left-hand side, you can see the summarized results of these 2 approaches. The vertical axis shows the fruity character. This is something that we cannot measure with instruments. But intensity is something we can measure. and the size of the red spots show the level of intensity of these various aromas. How intensely the various samples, how intensely fruity the various samples were. And if you compare instrument tests with the organoleptic test, you can see the relative amount of esters give you an idea about the intensity, and in harmony with in keeping in what we really expected, was that the normally, or where we could measure higher ester levels, was where we could identify higher fruity character in the samples through organoleptic tests, and the smaller dots show the compounds where that were not so intense. And then, or if we did the test using instruments, we could level higher, lower levels of esters. And at this point, I'd like to give the floor to my colleague, Zoltán Szoboszlai, who will share some subjective thoughts about the tasting. Good morning, everybody, again. Just before the lunch break, I'd like to share quickly the ideas we made these test samples. So if you step outside this room, you will see a table on the right-hand side, and all the samples are there for you to be tasted after or during lunch. And we also have free test wines from the experimental wines from the Pécs University, and Hannes has brought along some Austrian wines as well with him. So that will all be there, available for tasting during lunch break. And so basically, relating we used the various different clones, and the idea was to do microvinification from these different clones of the grape variety, and everything was the same, only the clones were different, and the vinification was also done using a very standardized method of winemaking. It was the same vineyard. All the different Cake Francoche clones are in the same vineyard site. So these two variables were only yield and the clone. We tested 4 different clones. These were planted in 2002. All these different clones were all planted in 2002, and I think these are the 4 clones through which we think can learn much more about Cake Francoche, the Cake Francoche grape variety in general. These clones really cover the whole gamut Cake Francoche wines can show in terms of character and the variety typicity. So there are 3 Wensberger clones. These are 3 German clones. They all come from Baden-Württemberg, and the 4th clone was the KT1, which was kind of a Hungarian clone. So this slide shows the results of tasting. This is all organoleptic tests, that is to say. So here you see on the right-hand side, you can see the total polyphenol content. So we also did some instrumental tests on the samples, and the color intensity and the total polyphenol content were all in harmony. So the higher color intensity always came along with higher polyphenol content. So this clearly shows that the 2024 vintage, these two parameters were linked by the pigments. 2024 was a very extreme vintage. We had a very weird sort of distribution of rainfall. We didn't get any rainfall before harvest, and there was a little, the vines really suffered shock from the heat. Our grapevines, even the grandfather said that the vine needs to suffer to give the best quality, but so it was very close. These figures were very close in all clones, so we were very lucky in this respect with the vintage. I really don't want to waste your time and take away the time from you for having lunch and tasting the wines. Well, we'd like to invite you all to share your thoughts relating to these Cake Francoche samples, and also your general thoughts about Cake Francoche that you think are the most important and make Cake Francoche a true great wine, or maybe a saleable wine and a very delicious wine. So why we think Cake Francoche an important variety is, of course, we have very clear answers that of course, Cake Francoche is the most widely grown grape variety in Hungary, and of course, it has a very important role in Bikovér, which is very important here in the Eger wine region, and also we really need to learn more about the true values and the potential of this grape variety, and base our Cake Francoche wine production on a similar basis. To achieve this, we need to talk, we need to discuss our experiences, and to discuss what we all think makes Cake Francoche a great grape variety. And so I really wish you a good lunch and bon appétit to lunch. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.